Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje. Now, what really happened in this fight? One of the scariest fights for Khabib, as well as one of his best submission wins in his entire career, where Justin Gaethje proved to be an extremely dangerous first-round fighter, stuffing a few takedowns, moving around the cage, landing some big shots on Khabib, as well as making it difficult for Khabib to shoot against the cage, because Gaethje's entire game plan, it was very obvious that he did not want his back to the cage, and he talked about it before the fight, but he was literally running away from the cage, circling around to get to the center. Khabib sometimes would cut him off, but plenty of times Justin Gaethje was able to get away from the cage enough to be a little bit more comfortable and start countering at Khabib, and that's generally what it was. Justin Gaethje was either attacking the legs from a distance. Khabib did not check any kicks, and he only grabbed a couple of them throughout the entire fight. But you have to also note, right, every time Khabib got leg kicked, he pressured Gaethje right back, right, because the retraction of leg kicks is a little bit longer than punches, so it allows the opponent enough time to pressure you before you get into your stance and get into a balanced position. So Khabib pressures him right afterward, and Gaethje has to run away and move around as fast as he can because Khabib is eventually going to set up for a takedown. And both times he took down Gaethje, it was off of the leg kick. He pressured Gaethje backwards, or the last takedown, the end of the fight, he actually grabbed onto the leg, right? Leg kicks against a wrestler is generally a bad idea. It worked on Khabib a little bit more because he's not your traditional wrestler. He's a little bit different. But eventually, in the second round, he was able to catch the leg, get it to the ground, and finish off the fight. But besides the leg kicks, the only other thing Gaethje was doing on the feet was counter Khabib or intercept his movements with big, looping overhands, haymakers, and hooks. Only through one uppercut the entire fight. Whenever he felt Khabib pressuring him heavily, he knew Khabib was going to set up for a takedown eventually, so he fell into the same thing that everybody has fallen to who has fought Khabib. They feel his pressure, and they're worried about the takedown, so they just want to knock him out with every shot to get the fight over with, right? Instead of setting things up and, shooting down the center a little bit more and trying to be more tactical inside of the exchanges, they are just trying to knock him out with everything they have, especially moving backwards. This is what Dustin Poirier did. Conor did it a few times. Ezra Barboza tried to do this. Michael Johnson tried to do this. They become so worried about the takedown, and Gaethje, who's the best wrestler Khabib's ever fought, and this fight probably showed that due to his ability to stop a couple of those takedowns, and some of them pretty impressively, to be honest, he as well became so worried about that takedown. And if Gaethje is going to be worried, almost everybody else is going to be worried as well, besides maybe Tony Ferguson, which is why I've always been saying Tony Ferguson is the hardest fight for Khabib at the lightweight division due to his grappling skills and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's what ultimately hurt Justin Gaethje more than anything else. Gaethje is a very good wrestler, but his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is almost non-existent, and you saw that in the fight. I've talked about it in my breakdown of Gaethje's wrestling. How good is Gaethje's wrestling? Every time he hits the mat, he gives up his back, and that is what got him choked in this fight, right? That last takedown, Khabib was able to get him to the ground, get his back because Gaethje gave it up to him, and from there, Khabib was able to transition to full mount as Gaethje rolled and eventually got the inverted triangle. And even in the first takedown, Khabib got into the full mount easier than he's ever done in his entire career. Gaethje did not make it hard at all for Khabib to get into full mount. He literally did nothing to stop it. He just allowed it to happen, and even the armbar at the end of the first round, he didn't even try to defend it. All he did was grab onto his arm because he knew it was coming. He was bracing for the armbar instead of trying to stop Khabib from transitioning into it, right? He already knew he was going to get into it, and he just tried to muscle his way out of it. Also with the triangle choke, he did not defend it at all. Khabib was able to just set it up like it was in an instructional video, and Gaethje's only response was, I'm going to lift him up and slam him. That's it, right? Gaethje is a clear-cut wrestler. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does not match anywhere near the level of his wrestling, and that's what got him finished, but most of the fight was striking. And even though Gaethje was trying to knock him out with every given blow, you have to look at what kind of punches he was throwing at Khabib. Almost all of them are overhand rights. Almost all of them. When you find a wrestler, you generally do want to go to uppercuts more because you intercept and counter their takedowns. Their takedowns come down, right? How do you counter someone coming down? You hit up with an uppercut or a knee or something like that. The only uppercut in the entire fight that Gaethje threw at Khabib, he actually landed it. And he did land one jab on Khabib, right? Instead of throwing overhands and looping hooks, which Khabib was able to see very easily, the times he mixed up his striking and threw a straight punch or an uppercut, he landed those. But the overhands were missing because people underestimate Khabib's striking. The guy is a lot harder to hit than it looks. He's very fast at seeing things. He has extremely good eyes. And even though he can seem sloppy in his defense and offense, it doesn't matter when it's effective. When he's not getting hit, it doesn't matter how weird it looks, right? If Conor can barely hit him clean, if Gaethje can barely hit him clean, if Barboza and Johnson and all these guys can barely hit him clean at all throughout rounds on rounds, he's doing something right. And all he does is he pulls on punches and he ducks his head in quick fashion, right? Extremely quick at ducking his head under punches. Even though he's flailing his arms around when he does it, his head is moving very quickly. And the speed at which he ducks his head translates right into his wrestling. That is why he ducks his head so quickly, right? He's able to get under punches with the same kind of movement. The same kind of movement he ducks under punches and comes back with a counter shot or moves away in the striking exchange, he uses that same head movement, ducks under to go for a takedown. And you saw that in the first round about 2 minutes inside the fight. He threw it right straight and ducked his head right under the check left hook of Justin Gaethje as Gaethje again was trying to counter with a looping punch. Khabib was mostly throwing straight punches and straight punches beat looping punches almost every single time. And the thing was, Khabib was landing jabs on Justin Gaethje, something people didn't really think would happen. Khabib has been hinting at it the entire time up until the fight, right? He kept saying that my jab is really good. People underrate my jab. What was the strike he was hitting Justin Gaethje with? The jab, or he set up things off of his jab, right? He's a lot better of a striker than people give him credit, and he's very comfortable standing with someone like Gaethje. And not only that, there were moments in the fight where Khabib was actually posting. He put his lead hand on Gaethje to feel the distance between them because they have about the same reach, right? Wherever he can touch Gaethje with his hand, he knows that's where Gaethje can hit him. Very aware of the distance between them, right? Puts his hand on Gaethje, feels like Gaethje's gonna throw a punch at him, so he just leans a little bit back, just enough to get away from the punch. And we look at the takedowns of Khabib. I mean, at the end of the first round, Gaethje was able to land a leg kick. He's retracting back and Khabib immediately pressures him. Gaethje's close to the cage, and what is he doing? He's shuffling away, trying to get away from Khabib. He starts posting at Khabib to feel out some of the distance, and he tries to take a sharp angle. And while you take a sharp angle, you switch your stance, right? You change your position. It was pretty ill-advised because the position he gave Khabib was he squared up a little bit more. His hips were facing Khabib. So Khabib just shot in against the cage, got the double leg takedown, and just turned Gaethje over. From there, Gaethje sat up against the cage, and you know what Khabib's gonna do there? Wrap around the legs, man. Completely securing the position. There's no way Justin Gaethje can get up from this position. So what we see Khabib do is, he grabs Gaethje's right wrist, and he pulls it over, and starts pushing into Gaethje's chest with his right shoulder. And what this is doing is, it's causing Gaethje to have to lean to his right. Right, he has to follow this angle that Khabib is forcing him into. Khabib gets completely on top of Gaethje and lets go of the leg wrap. And you can see here, Gaethje is not defending any of the transitions. He's not putting his knees up. He's not trying to block the pathway. And he just allows Khabib to get into full mount and literally just set up the armbar. All Gaethje did was he grabbed onto his arm like he knew it was going to come. He didn't try to stop the transition to it. He just braced for the armbar and tried to hold on. Now, Khabib actually didn't allow himself to get the armbar because, as you can see here, he trapped Gaethje's hand under his own leg, but this could be a bicep cutter which will put tremendous pressure on the arm. And then we look at the last takedown. Again, Gaethje throws the leg kick, Khabib follows it, grabs onto it, gets on his knees. Justin Gaethje gets on top to sprawl. What does Khabib do that nobody else has done? And I talked about it in my breakdown of Gaethje's wrestling. He chain wrestled. He countered the sprawl. This is something no one has ever done against Gaethje his entire MMA career, and this thing I've been saying that Khabib is going to have the advantage in the wrestling against Gaethje. Because Gaethje's so explosive, what did he do? He explosively sprawled, Khabib got under and rolled around to the back, and Gaethje just allowed it to happen. He went right into wrestle mentality and got on all fours. This is something that got to put him in trouble in his World Series of Fighting fights before the UFC. Khabib got his back, got the hooks in, Gaethje rolls on his back, Khabib now has full mount, and it looks like he was going to go for the arm triangle, but after switching off of that, Khabib goes right to the inverted triangle, and Gaethje does not defend it at all, like nothing. He doesn't even try to defend it. He just allows Khabib to get it in fully, and he gets on top, and all he looks to do is, like I talked about in my Gaethje wrestling breakdown, all Gaethje tried to do was pick up and slam, just like he's done before. He's a clear-cut, pure wrestler. But Khabib did not allow it. Khabib is the greatest grappler to ever compete in MMA. He hooks under the leg, so it's impossible for Gaethje to lift him, and he just has to suffocate in the choke. He tapped a few times. Jason Herzog is a really good ref, but here he made a big mistake. There was multiple taps from Gaethje, and he just did not break it up, so Gaethje had to go to sleep. Amazing performance by Khabib Nurmagomedov. Put out what a lot of people were calling the most dangerous fighter in the division for him. Secured another submission win, and he retired afterward. I don't know if it's going to be a retirement forever, because he said there's no one in the division right now that interests him. He defeated everybody, and Tony Ferguson's coming off a loss. But I do think the only time Khabib will probably come back is to fight GSP. That's it. I don't think there's anybody else that interests him at all. But here's the thing. He did promise his mother that this would be his final fight because it was his fight after his father passed away. And his mother doesn't want him to fight without his father around. He said he will hold that promise to his mother. But I have a feeling he still has that fighting spirit in him. Maybe his coaches, maybe Daniel Cormier, who said he wants to see one more out of Khabib. Maybe Dana White is probably going to put on the GSP fight, talk to him about it. I think it's the only guy Khabib will come back for because Khabib's father said he wants Khabib to fight GSP. That was one wish from him. He wants that fight to happen. And I think that's the only way Khabib is ever going to compete again in MMA. Khabib is one of the greatest of all time. He's the only champion to retire undefeated, 29-0, defeat some of the greatest fighters in lightweight history. He is absolutely the greatest fighter in lightweight history. There's no doubt about it. Probably top 5 fighters of all time across all weight classes. And potentially he ended with a legendary career. Definitely Hall of Famer. Very young. He's still in his prime. If he retires here, he retired at the best time you can. On top, in your prime. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you did, make sure to thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.